Okay, the first one we got, and I'll just start it off for you, and then we'll get back to the fraction problem, is negative 2x, and this is in your notes from last time, plus Hello Kitty. What's Hello Kitty?
That was doodling.
You spelled kitty wrong. 2x squared plus 8x plus 7 is equal to 0. So if you've got this in your notes, you don't have to redo it. I'm just going to cover the first 4 or 5 steps. And that'll be negative 2x squared plus 8x plus blank is equal to negative 7 plus blank.
So you always say plus a always be a
No, it's not always going to be. It could be anything. It could be 5, it could be negative 1/5, it could be anything.
yeah, so I
But
mean,
whatever's in front of here, you're going to take out. So I'm going to take it out. And that's going to leave x squared minus what? 4x plus blank is equal to negative 7 plus, and whatever we take out here, you multiply by this blank. And then what's half of 4? 4 divided by 2 squared is 2 squared, which is 4. And that goes there and there. And that gives you negative 2. And which shortcut is this going to be right here? Shortcut number 2, which is x minus 2, quantity squared, equals, and what's negative 7 minus 8? Is that what we got last time? Negative 15 looks so odd. Is that what we got? Okay. And then from here, we take this. To the next page. And from here, solve for x on this side, and over here there's 2 things that we got to do. One is take the opposite of both, and 2, put it in f of x form. So what's the opposite of negative 2? Right here, positive 2. And what's the opposite of negative 15? And that's your vertex. And just so everybody knows, since there are 2 2's in the group, I'll take this highlighter, take the opposite of that guy, and take the opposite of this guy. And remember, it's always the opposite if you get it from this form. Okay, there's one other form you can put this over here, and that's what we're fixing to do. And I do this for your information because sometimes the book will say put it in y-intercept form or put it in general form or something like that. Just put an f of x in front of it and bring the 15 over. So f of x is equal to negative 2 times x minus 2 quantity squared plus 15. And that's the general form. And what you do to get the vertex out of the general form, just from unit 1, what do? Take the opposite of horizontal, right here. What's the horizontal shift? 2 to the what? 2 to the right. That's what that means. And then what's the vertical shift? That's what that means. So remember, this is the unit 1 form. In unit 1, that's what I tested you on in unit 1. Horizontal shift is the opposite, and the vertical shift is whatever it is. So Remember, whatever this is, you do the opposite. I taught y'all that in Unit 1. A times x plus h, quantity squared, plus what? K. Remember? A times x plus h, quantity squared, plus k. H is the horizontal shift. If it's positive, you go to the left. If it's negative, you go to the right. K is vertical shift, but up or down, and that's up. And right here, that goes there, and this goes there. So if you go from this form, you take the opposite of both. If you go from this form, you take the opposite of the horizontal shift, and you just bring this up. So it all depends on what kind of form it's in. And that's very important, and I told you that in the notes. It's very important that you remember that, because you may have some teachers that want you to put it in this form. And then you may have some teachers or tests or homework that says, what's the vertex? So those are the two forms of the vertex. And to solve the x minus 2 x minus 2 quantity squared is equal to negative 15 divided by what? Negative 2. I just divided by negative 2. And, this is the equation. How do you start this equation? You got to divide by negative 2. And that'll leave x is equal to negative 15 halves. And that gives you x minus 2 is equal to 15 halves. And then take the square root of both sides. X minus 2 is equal to the square root of 15 over the square root of 2. Now what are we going to do with the square root of 15 over the square root of 2 before we even do anything else? Rationalize the denominator, so multiply by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, which is equal to the square root of 30 over 2. And then bring this over, which is 4 over 2. And let me highlight that. No. Let me highlight that blue, so you'll know what I've done. There's 2, I brought it over as 4 over 2. So our x-intercept in exact form is x is equal to square root of 30 plus 4 over 2. That's the exact form. That's the exact meaning the square root symbol is in there. If you wanted to get the decimal form, the square root of 25 is what? 5. And the square root of 36 is what? What's in the middle? Let me get this partitioned off. What's between 5 and 6? 5.5. So just find the middle over here. 25 to 36 is what? 11. Half of 11 is what? 5.5. So 5.5 added to that is 30.5. What do we need? 30. So what's the square root of 30? 5.4. So x, somebody check it in your calculator. Positive or negative 5.4 plus 4 over 2. And what's $5.40 plus $4? $9.40. What's half of $9.40? What's half of $9.40? Be 460 or 470. Is that right?
Yeah.
So 470 is your one intercept. You owe $5.40, and you have $4. So what's the outcome if you owe $5.40 and you have $4? And what's half of $1.40? Then you owe it, so it's negative. So there's your two x-intercepts in decimal form, which is approximate. And now you can sketch your graph. And the graph, I'll take it on the next page, and y'all tell me the numbers because I won't be able to remember them. What's the y-intercept? Y'all should all get that without any problems. 7, right? Look at the original form. ax squared plus bx plus c. What is it? 7, right? So, y-intercept is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. X-intercept is, what did I say, 4.7? 4.7 is right in here. Negative 0.7 is right in there. And what's my y-intercept? I meant my vertex. 2, and there's 7, so 15 will be up here. And is it opening downward? Yes or no?
Yes.
It is because of the negative what? Negative 2. All right, so there's your parabola.
If it's a negative, but it's down.
Go to unit 1. F of x is equal to a times x plus h quantity squared plus k. What does a tell us? What did I tell you it told us? Do y'all have those notes, or do y'all just throw them away, or what? What did that say? All right, and I told you that a, if it's a is equal to 1, that means it's the parent graph. Those 6 parent graphs. If a is between 0 and 1, what did I tell you it did? Got wider. If a is above 1, makes it more narrow. Or the compression, we went over the compression. And what did I tell you if a was negative? Opens down. If a is positive, opens up. That's all in unit 1.
I know.
So, what's my domain? All reals. Range, negative infinity to... If I asked y'all the y, if I asked you anything to do with the y, y'all go to x. If I asked you, what is the only thing that is in y terms? The only thing that is in y terms, what is it? The range. You taught us that in chapter 1, unit 1. Yes, that's right, class. The range. The range is the only thing in y terms. So, negative infinity to what? Whatever that is, yeah. And just be careful with the bracket. That would be a bracket, not a brace. All right? Increasing. There's your car, or your plane, whatever you want to use. So it's increasing from negative infinity to what? 2, and then from 2 or whatever this. What's the line of symmetry? 2. Okay. So here to here is 2. Negative infinity increasing from negative infinity to 2, and that's where I disagree with the book because they put parentheses here, and I still think it should be bracket. And then from 2 to what? Infinity. It's what? Decreasing. Okay? The range. That is the only thing. I can't believe that just happened. The range is the only thing. Nope. That is in what terms? Why? I'm fixing to. The range is the only thing that goes from negative infinity to 11. It's the only, or whatever that number is. What is that number? 5, 15? It's the only thing that's in y terms. So if you're putting a y in one of these, you're wrong. That's the only one that's in y terms. All right?
Well, there was a line in the increase.
There's not a y increase. Not that you write with a pen. That's do that. Did you write anything in terms of y? I just don't know what I'm going to do with it. Okay, Miss what's up? You haven't said a word this morning. I feel, yeah, that's just mean.
It's not mean.
Yeah, it is.
This is the time that I have to do my math homework.
Okay,
If I
all
have
right.
a question, I ask you about it.
Okay, that's okay. You're in a bad mood this morning. You ain't said a word.
I'm not in a bad mood.
That's okay. I'll just sit up here and talk to Miss Holland. You're not gonna help me out in class.
Do
You
want
always
me to
help me out in class. Huh?
Do you want me to help you out in
No,
class?
no.
Will that make me feel
No,
better?
you be quiet. I'll win. All right. Is that one, or is that the one we just did?
No.
Is it? Okay. All right. So, huh?
It's only like one number.
Okay. Yeah. Because I made it positive. This one, we probably did this one before we did the
No, I
negative.
just didn't understand because it's like, there's a bunch of, or is this when you get into all those fractions and stuff?
I don't know. 2x squared plus 4x plus blank is equal to 7 plus blank. This is the first one I showed you to factor out, I believe.
Yeah.
X squared plus 2x plus blank is equal to 7 plus 2 times blank. And what's half of 2? And 1 squared is, and that will give you shortcut number 1. 7 plus 2 is 9. So your vertex is -1 and -9. Huh?
Where'd you get the 1 from? 'Cause I thought that was b over 2 squared.
So, yeah, I had the same thought in the last problem, but I guess.
B
I
over
guess,
2,
again,
quantity squared.
Because you're factoring up the 2, and then you're taking, after you factored the b over 2 squared.
When do you do B over 2 squared? Who has that? When do you do it? Do you do it when A is 2 or do you do it when A is 1?
A is greater than 1.
No, you do it when A is 1. Completing the square is only done when A is 1, right here. That coefficient of that term is 1. You cannot do it until that is 1.
Okay.
So this is where you do it, right here. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1.
Thank you.
That's the biggest mistake students make. And I told y'all that in whatever last week was. I told y'all that last week. I said the biggest mistake students make is they try to do this before they're supposed to. They try to do it right here. And you can't. You cannot do complete the square until you get that to be 1. And you need to get that in your brain housing group because you're gonna do that on the test just because you're so concentrated on completing square.
We sure some did highlighting your notes, highlighting your notes.
And do y'all do that?
I guess.
Okay, one did.
Who said I did?
Okay, 2. All right, 2 times x plus 1, quantity squared minus what? 9. And that's the 2 forms that you need to be able to discern between. This is just your vertex, and this is vertex form or general form. And then
So
solve.
you're all
Mhm.
bring the 9 over and they get the opposite.
All you do is put f of x in front of this, and then bring this 9 over. Yes, sir.
We're eating 2 in front of 1 on the first step.
Whatever you factor out here, you put over here.
Okay, okay.
Divide by 2. Divide by 2. X plus 1, quantity squared, is equal to 9 halves. Take the square root of both sides. X plus 1 is equal to 3 square root of 2 over 2. I went ahead and rationalized the denominator. And if you want to do that, you can. I did it right here. Square root of 2 over 2. Square root of 2 over square root of 2. And what's square root of 2 over times square root of 2? Square root of 4, which is 2. What's square root of 9? 3 times square root of 2 is 3 times square root of 2. That's your exact answer, plus 2 over 2, or minus, sorry. I brought this 1 over as 2 over 2, the common denominator. And that's going to give you 3 square root of 2 minus 2 over 2. That is what kind of answer? Exact, Peter. That's right, class. Exact means that the radical is still in the problem. Now, we all know what square root of 2 is. It's 1.4. So, 3 times positive or negative 1.4 minus 2 over 2. All right, 3 times 1.4. Isn't that like 4.2? All right, so we got positive and negative. 4.2 minus 2 over 2. What's $4.20 minus $2? $2.20 divided by 2, 1/10. All right, there's one x-intercept. You owe $4.20. You owe $2.20. You owe $6.20. That's right, class. What's half of $6.20? Makes it 2 x-intercept. Our y-intercept is -7. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. X-intercepts, give it to me again, 110. And negative what? Negative 310. And what's our vertex? Huh? Negative what? Negative 1 and what? Negative 9? Right there? Negative 9? All reals? 9, negative 9 to what? Infinity is our range. And decreasing from negative infinity to negative 1. Increasing from negative 1 to what? Infinity.
What do you use that one that's on the y? It's
Range is always written in terms of what?
Yeah.
Why?
Long as the y-axis.
The two arrows means that this keeps going, right?
Yeah.
And what point is this right here? -9. So from -9 to infinity is the range. Huh? Oh, I don't know. It's hard to pick these things up when you don't have fingernails. No. I'm telling you, who's been walking on that floor? All right. You good? All right. Somebody give me Wednesdays or Thursdays or whatever day y'all came last. What was the problem we did? Started
-1/2 x squared
-1/2 x squared
plus 3/4 x minus 2 equals
minus 2
Yeah.
is equal to 0. How far did we get? Did we actually start it or what?
We got to the,
Solving it?
yeah,
Okay.
where we had something.
All right, so let's factor out a negative, or move, I'm sorry, -1/2 x squared plus 3/4 x plus blank is equal to 2 plus blank. Factor out -1/2. And that's going to give us -1/2 parentheses x squared minus, and I'm going to put 3/4 divided by 1/2 x. I'll do that for a reason. Plus blank is equal to 2 plus -1/2 times blank. Now the reason I did this was for two reasons. One is a lot of you forget how to factor out a fraction from a fraction. Y'all forget that it's division. So you take a fraction and divide it by whatever you're doing. The other reason I do it is to try to show you that you don't do completing the square first. You do completing the square after you get whatever you need factored out. Now that I've brought those two things to your attention, let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to go out to the side, I'm going to go 3/4 divided by 1/2 is 3/4 times what? 2/1. And those cancel. And what are you left with? So, your new equation is -1/2 times x squared minus 3/2 x plus blank. And I'm going to take my blue highlighter or my green highlighter and I'm going to, so hopefully you can follow that. Equals 2 plus -1/2 times blank. Whatever we factor out, we put over here. Whoever asked that. Whatever you factor out here always goes on the right hand side. And if you watched the video or you was in class last week, I don't know, telling you this again. The reason that is because all of this, when you teach complete the square for the first time, or when you teach it the old way or the conventional way, everything is done where? On the left-hand side. And I told you that it's on the first page of 3.2 in your book. Everything's done on the left-hand side. You don't do anything over here. 0 is over here. But I found that this way is the easiest way for students to grab a hold of it. But anyway, you factor it out here, that's why this other blank is over here. That's why you have to multiply it by this one blank right here. And you don't want to get into it or think about it too much, because then you'll be worried about that. And so that's why you multiply by this blank over here, because this used to be all over here, the conventional way of thinking. This is called zero property completed square, where you get rid of the zero. And that's why it's called zero property.
You got 3 hours multiplied by
Huh? I couldn't hear you.
You got 3 hours multiplied by
Yeah, because you divided by a fraction right here, and you factored it out. All right, now we're going to do completing the square. Now, since A is equal to 1, or the leading coefficient right here is equal to 1, you can complete the square. Now I'm writing this out here, not only for the video, but I'm writing it out here to remind you, what do you do first? Always factor out first. Now I'm not talking about factor out the whole thing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have anything besides a 1 here, and we'll highlight that red because that's a big thing. If there's anything in front of that x squared that is not 1, then that's the first thing that you take care of. Let's screw that up. Oh, well. I guess today is just Monday, right? There you go. And whatever you factor out, you have to put right there. Okay? So, 3 halves divided by 2 and squared. And that's 2 over what? 1. So that means I'm going to multiply this by what? 1/2. And that gives me 3 what? 3/4. And now I square that, that gives us what? 9/16. That's in the wrench. Your parents or guardian's fault. 9/16. Okay? So we'll take this guy. Try that again. Not gonna let me. I have to take that whole thing over. All right. So that's going to give me negative 1/2 x minus 3/4 quantity squared is equal to 2 minus, and what happens here? 9 over what? 9 over 32. Negative 1/2 times x minus 3/4 quantity squared is equal to 64 over 32 minus 9 over 32 negative 1/2 times x minus 3/4 quantity squared is equal to, I have no idea, 55 over 32. Y'all check my math. Now, y'all finish it. I think this is where we left off, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm going to put it on the next board, and y'all finish it. I mean everything. You can't finish it, that means you're what? A failure or a loser, yeah. And you should quit school. Miss Zug, you just look like you're in a bad mood.
I didn't sleep.
Well, you should have just called Miss Holly. She was up till 4 o'clock.
See, I fell asleep at like 10:30, but I fell asleep before I took a shower and in jeans.
I woke up, you took a shower in jeans?
No.
I woke up at 4 o'clock. Yeah. Tried to find a movie and I couldn't find a movie, so I just went on back to sleep, and I fell back to sleep about 5:30 and got up at 6:30. So
The lights off on your place?
I got what?
Lights off?
Yeah. No, I don't get up early. It's just I didn't sleep. I got up early because I had to run a couple of errands this morning before I got to the office. No, I didn't. In fact, I don't even have a vehicle. My truck, I'm getting tires on my truck. I wear some tires out on my truck.
Well, it's just not feeling it.
Yeah,
You getting much rain or something?
it's those, no, just get regular street tires. I just stay on the road. I've been to Florida twice, gone to Atlanta a couple of times. You know, I just stay on the road. I got to go to Atlanta today and pick up somebody at the airport that I just found out I had to do this morning.
Really, you don't leave here after class?
I said 4 o'clock. I thought I said 4 o'clock.
When do you have to leave here at 2?
I'm going to try to leave here by 2 because it takes 2 hours to get across to Atlanta, at least to the airport. And that's if you drive 60 to 70. I don't drive over 70 because I don't want to tear up my truck. I ain't like some of these yahoos that get out there and drive 110. Let one thing go wrong with their car and they'll crash. Idiots.
I at least go like 70. I don't have time to take a 4-hour trip to Atlanta.
I know, you're so important.
No, but.
You probably have to meet with the CDC while you're down there.
Whenever I have to go get my juice, I don't have time to sit there.
There's no need for you going 70. The speed limit's 70. Why do you need to go 78?
Whatever. I'll have
If the
my-
speed limit was 80, you'd go 88. Yeah, you would. I go 70, I put it on 70, and I cruise.
Well, I recommend a restaurant in Atlanta called Eats. It's homemade. I go there every time I'm in Atlanta.
I'm not going to socialize. I'm just going to pick up somebody and coming back.
You need to go eat at the
Well, I
cheesecake
just
factory.
wanted to recommend.
I appreciate it. I just don't.
No.
I can't handle. Can you imagine handling a dually, 4-wheel drive dually in the middle of Atlanta?
Yes, because
You need-
I've had to drive my dad's truck.
Well,
in the middle of the-
I don't want to go down there, but I'm going 285. I'm going around. I'm not going further down.
You need to go get at the cheesecake factory. That stuff is so good. And they've got valet parking.
No,
That's what's
nobody's
important
driving
in
my
life.
truck. I'm sorry.
That's what's important in life.
All right, so what we do? Well, vertex is what? 3/4 and negative 55 over 32, which is what, 2.5 or 2, somewhere around there. 32 over 32 is 64, so it's less than 2. I'm not going to put it in FX form because that's, y'all know how to do that
Is that
now.
the vertex?
Huh?
Is that the vertex?
That should be vertex. Half of both. I mean, opposite of both. And divide by negative 1/2. X minus 3/4. Quantity squared is equal to 55 over 32 multiplied by negative 2 over 1. And that 2 and that goes to 16. So x minus 3/4 quantity squared is equal to 55 over 16. And what do we know about negative 55 over 16? I didn't hear anything but that. What does negative 55 over 16 mean?
The y.
Nobody in the class knows.
Decimal? 16 is a perfect square, so when you
Look back in your notes.
Why?
is it gonna be one of those deals where you have to drop an I?
Yeah, what does that mean?
It's got a
Square
name,
root.
it's got a word. It's an imaginary number?
No, x-intercepts, that's it.
Finally, after a bunch of queuing and trying to get y'all to say it, after 10 minutes, no x-intercepts. Now, we'll go ahead and write it in terms of I, just for your information. What's the y-intercept?
Negative 2. Yeah.
Negative
0, negative 2. That's your y-intercept. So that's all the information we got. So we know it's floating. So this comes into play because we want to make sure that when we graph it, it opens what?
Downward or down?
So the x equals, so we put the I here,
I'm fixing to do that. So make sure you got all this down. So let's finish it out. It's going to be x minus 3/4 is equal to square root of negative 55 over 4. And x minus 3/4 is equal to I times the square root of 55 over 4. And that's good enough for government work because that's the exact answer. And most of the time, I will be in exact answer form. They don't want it in decimal form. And the only reason you get the square root in a decimal form is so you know where to plot the x-intercept. So x is equal to I times the square root of 55 plus 3 all over 4. And the reason I put it all over 4 is because it's a common one. Denominator. So that's the form. Now the form that you want to write it in is a plus bi. Remember that. You need to highlight it. A plus bi. That is the standard form of writing an imaginary number. So this would be 3 plus square root of 55 I over 4. I'm not too concerned about it, but you need to know that that's the standard form. I always goes last. Be careful. I would put the I in front of what? Yeah, and that's still in A plus BI form, even though you don't have it in behind the B. But when you have a radical, you always want to keep, or put a little tag right here, and then you can put the I. Because sometimes the way you write, the I looks like it's under the radical, and some essay teachers will mark it wrong just to mark it wrong. because it looks like it's under the I. I mean, it looks like it's under the radical. So you need to be careful when writing it. Oops. Need to be careful when writing it near the radical. Make sure you add that little tag and you put the I out here. So this one looks like it's going to be floating somewhere. What's the y-intercept? 0, -2. No x-intercepts. What's the vertex? Okay, 3/4. And negative what? Way the head down here. So, what is negative? I'm sorry. What is negative 55 over 32? What does that come out to be? 1 point what?
Or negative 1.7.
So that'd be right in here.
It's negative.
And, okay, negative. Negative on both?
Well, negative 55 over 32 is
No, the other one. The first one. The x.
One half.
Forget it.
oh, 3.
Or 3/4.
3/4 and negative. That's what I was asking. Positive or negative? Whatever. What? And it's open in which way? All real numbers. Negative infinity to whatever that y is. What is that y? Negative 55 over 32. That's your range. Sorry. And increasing from negative infinity to negative 3/4 or positive 3/4, whatever that is, positive 3/4. And then decreasing from 3/4 to infinity.
How did you know there were no S in
Because it has I in it. Negative.
there? Oh, okay.
Right here.
So this is negative.
If there is a negative on the right-hand side and 1 is right here, in other words, there's no negative out here, then you don't have any x-intercept. Now, what if this was a positive 1/2? What if this was a positive 1/2 and you went over here and divided by positive 1/2? What would you have gotten? And positive means you have what? You have x-intercept. But here, when we got finished doing everything, and this is 1, a positive 1 right here, and you have a negative over here, then that means you don't have x-intercepts.
It's just if you have I, so maybe.
Yeah, well, this means you're gonna have I.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, like I. You have I.
Yep, no x-intercept. All right, let's look at a couple of problems in your sections, because I've been deviating from the book. But you should be able to handle pretty much anything up to 3.4. So let's take a look at the study plan for 3.3. And I'm just going to pick a problem. I don't know what it looks like. I don't even know what kind it's going to be, but you should be able to handle it. Okay, solve the equation. This is like algebra 2, algebra 1. This is zero property. X squared is equal to negative 64. Well, what do you do to undo a square? So x is equal to what? I told you you'd be able to handle it. After I finish with completing the square, that should be like elementary to you. So you just put 8i, 0 plus 8i, which is 8i.
Can I ask you this?
No, I don't answer any questions right now. You're supposed to say whatever. Go ahead.
Dan, how did you know when you that last one we did with the fraction, how did you just know? Did you just look at it and see when it was in the form of x squared minus 3/2 x plus 9/16, but you just knew to break it down to x minus 3/4?
That's
quantity
the
squared.
shortcut. That's the shortcut.
Yeah, the shortcut.
Did I write them down last time?
You wrote the shortcuts down. I know the shortcut.
You know them because you know your perfect squares. And that's the whole point of doing completely squared. The whole point of it.
Got it. Got it.
Okay, so when it's x equals zero, we're supposed to do the positive.
Okay, my bad. Yeah. Listen, if you do this on the test and that's the answer, I'll give you the points. I mean, that's understood to be what? Positive or negative, because you're taking the square root of negative, or you're taking the square root of -1. Anytime you take the square root of anything, it's going to be positive or negative. That's an assumption. So, you know, I'm not going to take off if you write this or if you write this. I don't care. If you write 8i, I'll still give you the points. Did that answer your question? So is that a test question? Oh, heck no. It's too easy. Do you want to pass 110 or flunk it, or pass calculus or flunk it? Which one you want to do? If y'all want to flunk it, then we'll do all the easy questions and forget all the hard questions. Y'all might have had some high school teachers like that. How do you know you had high school teachers like that? Well, when you got to college, could you do the material? That's the question. I couldn't, but that wasn't the teacher's fault. That was my fault. All right. Yeah.
How do you find out what increase or decrease? You just plot it out?
That's the plane. Remember me showing you the plane? You might have had a broke leg at that time, or whatever was wrong with you at that time. Plane! The plane! Who used to say that? Anybody know? Tattoo! Some of y'all going, what the heck are you talking about? Forget it. It's your parents' party.
Oh yeah, I get that. I'm just saying, is there a formula or something, or you just kind of?
Nope. You just look at it. Dang old, move the whole freaking graph. Really? You're supposed to let me. You know, if I was a designer of this thing and I knew that CAD had been out there for 25 years, I believe I would have used some of the things that you use on CAD. Like, for instance, if you go from this way to this way, you do the whole thing. If you do this way to this way, then you only get a partial. But no, they didn't adopt that. They just, I got to explode the whole thing, and I don't feel like doing it. No, it's not going to let me do it. I don't know why. Forget it. Let me just take off the. Let me draw it over here. Maybe I can draw it the wrong way. So I don't know why that looks like a box with a slit through the side of it. There we go. Remember me taking the plane and starting over here? Leave me alone. What's the plane doing right here? It's decreasing. Now, we don't measure range. We don't measure decreasing in terms of y. We measure it in terms of what? X. So from negative infinity, so as the plane's coming in this direction, what's it doing? Decreasing. So it's decreasing from negative infinity to what? Whatever this number is, 3 or 2 or 1. So it's going from there, 1.
Maybe it's going to be like 2.
And then from 1 to what? To infinity, it's doing what? It's increasing. And that's how you do increasing and decreasing. Just draw your plane a little bit better than that. It looks like a, yeah, it looks like a clown's foot or something. I don't know. It just don't, that leprechaun, dang old leprechaun's foot. Dang old,
You know, when you say dangle, you always make me think of,
dang old Boomhauer.
gosh, what was it? Boomhauer?
Dang old Boomhauer. Where do you think that comes from? Ooh, I played football. All right, y'all ready for nerd? Okay. This is gonna be hard. Go ahead and try it. Huh? Good job. I think she's coming down from a high. I think that's what it is.
No, I'm not.
Miss Sug's been doing drugs all night. She's coming
Oh,
down.
my gosh.
Wild night.
Yep. Wild woman.
We won first at our competition.
That's what it is. She's coming down from that high.
No, I'm not. I just know that.
Speaking of drugs. Gotta have them drugs.
You get drug tested, I can't do that anyway.
Is that coming up?
In the Marine Corps, they used to test you like your brother dead. Thought you were probably picking up something. Where's my thing? There it is. No sneaking, please. 3K plus 1 squared is equal to 45. How do you do it? Square root, and that gives us 3K, 3X, I don't even do that, plus 1 is equal to, now they want it in, what kind? They want it in, looks like radical form. So let's go ahead and leave it in radical form. But you can find a perfect square in 45, can't you? 9. So square root of 9, square root of 5, and 3x plus 1 is equal to 3 times the square root of 5. Now you've got it in radical form. And that's going to be plus 1, be minus 1. And that's going to be 3x is equal to 3 square root of 5 minus 1. And what do we do now? Divide by 3. And that's going to be x is equal to 3 square root of 5 minus 1 over 3. Now, you're going to have to remember that there's a positive or negative in here, right? So you got to remember that. So, because they're going to write their answer in terms of this. And they've got it in this form. So put the negative, I don't know why, I don't care, but they put the negative out, I mean the 1 out front. So negative 1 plus 3 square root of 5 over 3. And negative 1 what? Minus 3 square root of 5 over 3. So your answer is this one right here.
So when you're completing the square, what exactly are you trying to accomplish?
Finding the x-intercepts in the vertex. And you can't do it all the time. You can't factor and use the quadratic formula. Well, you can use the quadratic formula all the time, but you have to rely on your calculator to do the math because it gets so complicated.
So these answers in your head then, is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see what I told you? You could handle these. After you do completing the square, you can handle just about everything. Well, this is part of completing the square.
So much easier than quadratic formula.
All right, try that. I mean, I don't do the quadratic formula. Did I say quadratic formula?
No, it's easier than quadratic.
No, it's a whole lot easier. You just have to use basic math. All right, this one says x squared minus 4x is equal to 21. X squared minus 4x is equal to 21. And they want you to find the solutions. So that means find the x-intercepts. I want you to find everything, because if you can find everything, these questions are real simple. So I want you to find everything that we've been finding.
It was just 21's already on the right side.
So just add 2 blanks. Blank on the left-hand side and a blank on the right-hand side. I got to take the roll while y'all working on that. Great, doesn't log me out. It's always great to be logged out. Today is the 6th. All right, Miss Black is here. Miss Barner is not here. Miss Carey? Miss Lovely is here. Mr. Clayton is here. Mr. Cleveland? Mr. Craig is here. Mr. Crenshaw? Not here. Miss Fitzsimmons? I don't see Mr. Frialdi. He must have quit. Good. Just kidding. Mr. Guffey is here. Huh? Nah, he's a good guy. That was real good on that sociology project. I thought that was cool. Guffey's here. Geimer is not here. Let's see Geimer. Holly is here. Richie is here. Ryder is here. Sabakul is here. Smith. Here. Yep. Stolfus is here. I'm learning. Both Vaughns is here. Vining. Not here. And Miss Love is here. Oh, there's a couple of names I ain't got. Hopefully by the end of the semester I'll have y'all learn. I'm terrible with names. You just don't know. I'm going to get out of that because I don't need to be in there. One less thing to have to get out of. And email. Alright, let's get back to the problem. Alright, so add your blanks. How do I tell you about that sneezing? So that'd be x squared minus 4x plus blank is equal to 21 plus blank. Half of 4 is 2 squared. So x minus 2 quantity squared is equal to 25. These are way too easy. Square root. Oh, what's the vertex? 2 and negative 25. That's your vertex. F of x is equal to x minus 2 quantity squared minus 25 is your f of x. So that's going to be x minus 2 is equal to positive or negative what? 5. Bring the 2 over. What's 5 plus 2? 7. What's negative 5 plus 2? There's your 2x intercept. What's your y-intercept? Negative 21. So, graph it. That's going to be 0, negative 21. That's your y-intercept. 2, negative 25.
Your y-intercept's 1, 1,
Bring it over here. What is it? Negative 21. C is always your vertical shift. What time is it?
11.
Oh, I'm sorry. 7 and negative 3. There you go. So you should be able to finish all of 3.2, well, 3.1 through 3.3, and we will start 3.4, which is real easy. We'll start it come, what does the syllabus say? Anybody got it in front of them? Yeah, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, and I'll probably give you a test on 3.6. I'll break up 3.3 and 4. I'll break that up. See ya. I guess I'll see y'all Wednesday.